What is going on, guys? Today I'm going to be talking about the leaders of all the different factions of One Piece, as well as the 4 Yonkos, kind of similar to a video I did recently ranking the different factions, but this time I want to talk specifically about their leaders. And I know 2 of them don't really have leaders per se, that being of course the Warlords and the Supernovas, but I think it's pretty clear who is the strongest in those 2, so that's how I'll be using. Obviously, I'm going to be using Mihawk, and then for the worst gen, I'm going to be using Luffy. I think it's pretty clear at this point, he has to be the strongest supernova right now. Like, I could have definitely seen some debate pre-Whole Cake Island, but after this whole Katakuri situation, I am pretty much leaning towards him guaranteed being number 1 at this point. So then, just to run through the 8 people that I will be ranking in no particular order right now, we have Mihawk, Luffy, Akainu, Dragon, Blackbeard, Shanks, Big Mom, and Kaido. So with that being said, there's no real rules for this ranking, it's just who I think is more powerful in a general 1v1 situation. It's not necessarily fighting each other, it's just, you know, like I've had to explain a million times, who could beat more people 1v1. So starting at the bottom, unfortunately, after I just built up how he is so sure going to be the strongest of his faction, I gotta put Luffy. I mean, look at the people he's up against. Like, he doesn't really stand a chance against a single one of these people. We have 4 Yonkos, we have Akainu, Dragon, I mean, no. Like, there's no way he could even really stand a chance against any of these people, which did make me kind of consider maybe he shouldn't be on the list, but I really like the Worst Generation. I wanted their strongest person to be here, so while he doesn't really compare to them, he I think he deserved being here, but he is 100% at the bottom. I don't think I really need to explain myself, so let's just move on to the next one where the debate actually starts cooking. And next on this list, and oh god, I'm going to get fucked up for saying this, but here I go, I have Big Mom. I think that she is the weakest of these superpowers that we are looking at right now. I mean, it's really hard to say because we haven't seen so much from the majority of them, but I think a lot of people, like myself, were pretty underwhelmed by her performance in Whole Cake Island thus far, right? She hasn't really been seen to do too much, even though at first her Devil Fruit seemed to be one of the most powerful in the entire series. It's kind of been shown that, you know, it has a lot of weaknesses, and would it even be that useful if she was outside of Whole Cake territory? I think there would be a lot more limitations to it. Like, yeah, Zeus and Prometheus are pretty powerful, I will say. Of course, she is going to be one of the strongest people in the world. I just don't think that she's gonna really do much against any of these people, except maybe the one immediately after her. I think it'd be a pretty close battle there, but besides that, not really. I think this is a pretty good place for her. She's obviously above Luffy. Again, Luffy doesn't compare to any of these people. But Zeus and Prometheus are pretty good. I guess Napoleon is kind of something as well. She uses a sword now, I suppose. My friend Glam makes the claim now that she's in the top 10 swordsmen in the world. No, like, it depends on how exactly you mean that. Like, do you really consider her a swordsman, and then because of that, does that make her just, like, one of the strongest swordsmen? I don't think so. I think when you're saying, like, if you're the strongest swordsman, you're talking about someone who, like, specifically uses a sword. Like, they specialize in that. They don't really use a Devil Fruit, or at least they don't heavily rely on a Devil Fruit like Big Mom does. So yeah, with her taking a huge nerf outside of Whole Cake Island most likely, and just the fact that even inside of it, she's not completely over the top like the rest of these people, I think this was a pretty fitting place for her on this list. And then next on the list at number 6, I have Blackbeard. Like I said, I think he's pretty similar to Big Mom in overall power levels, but for one thing, I think he is super on the rise. I think he's actually going to be flying through these ranks, but just talking about him and Big Mom, I think he definitely has the advantage, especially with his 2 outrageous Devil Fruits. I might even be able to believe that both of them are actually more powerful than Big Mom's. I could see maybe hers being better than the Quake Fruit, but the Darkness is crazy, and even then, the Quake is pretty debatable. I think it could certainly have both of them being more powerful than her fruit. Even besides the fact that he has 2 ridiculous Devil Fruits, I think he would be pretty decent without them, nothing compared to what he is now. But I mean, he was up for promotion to a Division Commander level on the Whitebeard pirates before he, at least as far as we know, had any devil fruits. And even if he did, I don't think he ever showed the Whitebeard pirates that he had the Cerberus fruit. That's pretty much what I'm referring to. So yeah, I don't think that, you know, they would have taken that into account. I think they would have only seen him in his base form. And while he is pretty clumsy as far as we've seen him do some pretty embarrassing shit both from the War of the Best and Impel Down, and even really against Ace. I mean, come on. The fact that he had any trouble against Ace at all is pretty disturbing to me. But I think that, you know, he has to be pretty powerful even without his devil fruits, considering, like I just said, I think in his base form, he was up for Division Commander promotion. And as far as we've seen, at least half of the Whitebeard Division Commanders are pretty fucking powerful. So he's got to be at least decent without his devil fruits, and now that he has two of the most powerful devil fruits of the entire series, he's definitely stronger than Big Mom in my opinion, and I think this is a great place for him on the list. And moving on, coming in at number 5, we have the leader of the Navy of One Piece, Akainu, of course, the Fleet Admiral. I think Akainu is pretty powerful. I think a lot of people are sleeping on him. I've heard people say that they are 100% certain that Garp could have one-shotted Akainu. And I don't really understand what's going on with that. I mean, maybe Garp could have beaten him, I guess, even though he's pretty old at this point. Maybe he could have beaten him, but, like, it would be a massive, drawn-out battle. Like, I think it would be kind of weird if Sengoku and Garp weren't at least comparable in terms of power. So, we have that going, right? And Sengoku was the Fleet Admiral. And now, we have Akainu, who is the new Fleet Admiral. So, while I don't know if Akainu or Sengoku was actually stronger in their primes, well, I mean, they have to at least be close, right? They can't just be a complete blowout. Sengoku's not going to completely annihilate him. And even then, I don't know, guys. I really would not be surprised if Akainu was stronger. While I am leaning towards Sengoku being stronger because of his crazy-ass devil fruit, even though we don't really know what it can do. It's a Buddha, it's a mythical zone, right? It's gotta be pretty good. But, I mean, the thing is, something that has clearly been going on in One Piece is, as the generations progress, they get more powerful, right? That's why this is the worst generation. Like, this is the craziest shit that's ever been seen in these worlds. They're all super powerful for some reason. As, you know, time goes by, people just get stronger. Dofi even talks about it towards the beginning of the series when he says, like, a new wave, an unstoppable wave is coming and no one's gonna be able to do anything about it. And it's not even like that is an uncommon theme among different series or even the real world. It's pretty, you know, common for just newer things to be better, right? The newer Fleet Admiral could very well be stronger than the old one. I think it makes a lot of sense, and if that is the case, then Akainu is a major force to be reckoned with. I do think he could definitely fight on the Yonko stage. I think he could put up at least a fight against any one of them. I mean, while he did get his ass beat by Whitebeard, he was at least fighting with him. He did do a considerable amount of damage. Sure, Whitebeard was weakened, but so was Akainu, and again, he did get his ass beat, but he did land some blows as well, and that's pretty impressive to do to the, at the time, strongest man in the world. So while I'm not saying he's the strongest character in the One Piece universe, I definitely think he's up there. I think he's stronger than two of the Yonko and weaker than two of the others, and I think that this is a very fair place to put him. I think he could be potentially even stronger as well. And then coming in at number 4, we have Shanks. I think this guy's a superpower. I think that there's a pretty decent gap between him and Akainu. I mean, I think this is where the tiers start getting ridiculous, right? Like, Akainu is very crazy. He could solo the vast majority of people in the One Piece universe, but this is, like, on a different level. I think Shanks really takes it to the limit. I think that this is where the level of Yonko really rings true. I think at this point and beyond, we are talking about people who could have legitimately actually put up a fight against Whitebeard, maybe even defeated him, I guess, especially again with the whole theme of the newer generations being stronger. Like how I've heard a lot of people say, you know, maybe Shanks actually surpassed Roger because he was his apprentice. He is one of the people of the newer generation. While Roger was the strongest of his time, it's possible that Shanks could have surpassed him. And I don't know if I'm necessarily on that train at this point, but I could see it. I think it's definitely a reasonable claim at the very least. I mean, I think it's pretty clear. The guy is crazy powerful. All he has is a sword with one arm and a shit ton of haki. His Conqueror's haki has been shown to actually do physical damage to objects, so that's interesting. There's definitely something there. I don't think I really need to justify why he's this high up on the list. If anything, I need to spend more time working on the one after this, because I know people are already shitting all over me in the comments because of who is on top of Shanks. So let's just get right into that. Coming in at number 3, I have Mihawk. Yes, I know this is without a doubt the most controversial one on this list. I know some people think that Shanks is the strongest character in the entire series, so for me to put Mihawk above him is just... I can't do that, right? But I mean, I don't know. I had a whole discussion video with Kibby Thick Fat Deluxe Special Salisbury Style and Edic talking about... Actually, no. Kibby wasn't there. But Edic was there, and like, we were just saying, you know, I think that these are some of the most evenly matched characters in the series, Mihawk and Shanks. They have a rivalry going on and everything. I mean, they had these like weekly duels or daily duels or some bullshit, right? Like... how is it a duel if it's just going to be a blowout every time? And why would Shanks be able to defeat Mihawk regularly if he is a swordsman and Mihawk is called the greatest swordsman in the world, okay? Yes, I know he's technically the strongest swordsman. Let me explain something for some people, okay? They always say, oh yes, Mihawk is probably the most physically powerful swordsman in the world. He's the strongest swordsman in the world. That's what they say. Okay, yes, technically it does directly translate to strongest, but that's just the terminology used in these kind of shows, right? Like, we say, who is the strongest character in One Piece? We're not talking about their physical strength. We're talking about how powerful they are, right? Like, how many people they could beat 1v1. Again, it all goes back to that. It's just like how, in My Hero, it's the same terminology. It's Saikyo no Hiro, right? That means the strongest hero. Sure, I guess All Might might be the physically strongest hero, but that's not what they're talking about, okay? They're talking about the #1 hero, the best, right? That's what we're talking about here in the swordsman situation. And then, okay, if we can even get on board with that he is the strongest swordsman, there's also the people like Ganon who go, okay, well, yeah, he has better swordsmanship than Shanks, but Shanks has better haki, so he wins. Okay, no, like that it's kind of the same thing. Like, yes, I get that there is technique to swordsmanship, and Mihawk will most certainly have the advantage in that, but I don't think that it is just completely separate from haki, right? Like, I think armament haki plays a major factor in your swordsmanship abilities. I think it's one of the most important things, actually. And while Shanks probably has an advantage in both Conqueror's and Observation haki, for one thing, we have no idea if Conqueror's haki is even, like, at all viable in combat against someone who is pretty close to your level, so there's that. And with that being said, let's even assume that it can do something in a battle, so Shanks has the advantage in Conqueror's haki and Observation, and Mihawk has the advantage in sword technique and armament haki. It's gonna be a close battle, right? Like, this is not just, it's easily in Shanks' favor, not at all. There's no way that that's the case. And pretty much, I could see either one being stronger. If you say that you think Shanks is stronger by a little bit, yeah, I can totally agree with that. I can't agree with him being outrageously stronger. The only reason that I'm thinking if I gotta pick one, it's gonna be Mihawk that is stronger, it's because of his title of World's Greatest Swordsman. I think that does mean, since Shanks is a swordsman, he is just directly below Mihawk, but that's all I got. I think that Mihawk is just a little bit better, so yeah. And then with that whole thing out of the way, coming in at number 2, we have the leader of the Revolutionary Army, Monkey D. Dragon. I made a whole video talking about how strong Dragon could potentially be, and I even said I could see him possibly being the strongest character in the world. And I don't think that is just related to his bounty. I don't think that just because he has supposedly the highest bounty that makes him the strongest character in the world. I think it definitely plays a big factor. But, I mean, this guy's been being built up since one of the first sagas of the entire series. It was the first saga, actually. I mean, this guy is the leader of the Revolutionary Army, who has members like Sabo and Kuma and Ivankov, who are all monsters in their own right. And this guy is in charge of them. He actually trained Sabo, so he's definitely got to be insane. I think that we're going to see a Devil Fruit from him that's stronger than almost any Devil Fruit we've seen at this point. I think it might shit on the Quake Fruit, and I'm pretty excited for that. I would also like to mention that he is the son of Garp, who is supposedly one of the strongest characters in the series as well. And again, with the whole theme of, you know, as the generations come, they get slightly stronger, I think the same thing might be happening with Dragon. Plus, we have Garp, who has no Devil Fruit, and Dragon, who clearly has some kind of Devil Fruit going on. It seems to be a pretty crazy one. So I don't think there's any real reason to think that he'd be weaker than Garp. I think he's definitely stronger than Garp. And I don't know, I just think that the hype is like pretty much Madara level. We're going to see some of the most crazy ass power of all time, possibly in Reverie or Wano, most likely Reverie. So that's what I'm waiting for. I don't want to talk too much about Dragons, I already made a whole video about it, and we don't know 100% of his abilities, or even really any at all. So we'll wait for that on Reverie. Let's move on to the #1 spot. Of course, there is only one left, the King of Beasts, the leader of the Beast Pirates, Kaido. I've said it a million times, I think this guy is currently the strongest character in the One Piece universe. I don't think that anyone really stands a chance against him, for multiple reasons, really. The two big factors here, I think, are the one, of course, the thing that I mention all the time, that the narrator said, you know, people will say if it's one-on-one, Kaido will win, right? That's a huge thing. I think that does imply that he is the strongest 1v1 in general. And then, of course, there is the, okay, well, does he have a particular fighting style that could be countered a lot? And no, it's actually kind of the opposite, right? He kind of will actually be the one countering people most of the time. He's like a jack of all trades deal. He is massive, so he's going to be able to use brute force to get through anything. Like, imagine him against Cracker, right? He's not going to have any difficulty at all getting through those biscuit soldiers. He will not get countered by something like that. And at least as far as we've seen, while we don't know what his Devil Fruit is, he seems to use some kind of club at this point. So it's a very versatile weapon. It can be used both bluntly and sharply, you know, if he's using the spikes or whatever, and you combine that with his monstrous strength and size, and I think he's just got a really good fighting style. I think that this guy is definitely going to be shown in Wano to be the strongest character. I don't think there's going to be too much debate. I think it might even take multiple worse gen members just to take him down, and possibly even some Admiral help. Like I've said before, I could see Fujitora or Ryokugyu actually coming to Wano and helping, because this guy is such a monstrosity of pure power. And also, I mean, just look at the only calamity we've seen so far. We've seen Jack, who is supposedly the weakest of the calamities. They're supposed to be Queen and King as well. So if that guy is that powerful, pretty much easily soloing both Dog and Cat, I'm kind of expecting the Queen and King to be insane, and then Kaido probably easily defeating any of them. I mean, the guy's gonna be nuts. The guy's gonna be nuts. I can't wait for it. I'm sure everyone can't wait for it. This is why Wano has been so hyped up. It's gonna be awesome. So that is my ranking video for the leaders of the different factions as well as the Yonkos. I hope everything was not too controversial. I try to give my honest opinion every time, you know. I'm thinking the big ones here are going to be the Akainu placement as well as the Shanks versus Mihawk. I think people are going to think that Akainu is way too high, and of course that Shanks should not just be higher than Mihawk, but possibly even above Kaido. So, you know, I don't know. I guess I'll have to see what's going on in the comments. If you enjoyed this video, remember to give it a thumbs up and subscribe if you haven't already. Remember to leave me a comment letting me know what you thought about this video. If I was just being completely ridiculous, I'm totally off on this. Luffy is easily the strongest character on this list. Let me know what you guys think. If you haven't already checked out the Discord, make sure to look in the description for a link. Join in on that and get in on the discussion that's going on every single day. I have a ton of different channels that are really quite interesting. I mean, it's crazy, right? Like, I have all these channels for different people to talk about different different parts of One Piece, and they're just blowing up every day. Whenever I have my headset on, it's just like my ear is exploding because there's so much going on in there. It's pretty much like a subreddit for One Piece, except it's kind of a smaller community where you actually know the people you're talking to. You have a discussion with people on a daily basis, right? You know these people. I'm even there to talk to, right? That'll be fun. You can talk to me, message me on Discord, DM me, whatever. I almost always respond. I think I always do, unless I feel like I'm getting memed or something. So with that all being said, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Have an excellent rest of your day, and I will talk to you on Friday.